This came out the other day, and there are three teams in the NBA right now that have trade interest in Miles Bridges. It's the Sacramento Kings, the Dallas Mavericks, and the Pistons. They have shown trade interest in him. Now, he's a guy that I want to be careful when I'm talking about Miles Bridges. I've told you guys before, I'm not going to speak uh, on Miles Bridges' name when it's not basketball related. And I know some people were disgusted with the off the court stuff, and I can understand why. The pictures are pretty graphic with his, I don't even know what she was, like a girlfriend or a wife, ex-girlfriend, whatever. But as a basketball player, I think the Pistons have been interested for a minute. I just wonder how he would do with the Pistons in terms of coming back home and distractions. That's my thing, because I think the basketball player is a good player. I think he would be a fit on this team. Now, I know some people I've seen on Twitter say, he's a terrible defender. He wouldn't be good here. I disagree with that. I think offensively, you have a lob threat for Cade. He can hit a three-point shot. He can work in the post a little bit. I think he would work here in Detroit. It's just you really would have to keep an eye on him. You really would. And I want to bring up another Piston that we did sign that was quote unquote a distraction, and that's Josh Jackson, right? Josh Jackson was here in Detroit for a little bit. And a lot of people were like, oh, why are the Pistons signing Josh Jackson? Like, the guy's a mess. Like, what the hell are they doing? I think if they really kept an eye on Miles Bridges, they could find a way for it to work. I just think from a basketball standpoint, it would make sense for them to try to go after him. But it's, like I said, there's going to be a lot of backlash and negativity towards it because of the off the court issues, and I completely understand that. But like I said, I wanted to keep it strictly basketball, because when you get in those conversations with people, and I understand it, it's a very touchy subject. But I try to keep it just basketball related when I talk about Miles Bridges. I was a fan of his at Michigan State. I thought he was a hell of a player under Tom Izzo. I've always been a fan of his from afar. Watching him and LaMelo Ball, this LaMelo Ball throwing him lobs up the court. I think Jaden Ivey could do that with him. I think Cade Cunningham could do that with him. Even Marcus Sasser to an extent. I think the fit, it could work. It's just you worry about the off the court stuff. You worry about distractions with him coming home. Would he have more distractions coming back home? I don't know. I don't know him personally. But I think as a basketball standpoint, it would make sense. And you also have to remember that he was on the Pistons wish list from a couple of weeks ago that Shams Charania reported. It was OG Anunoby, Pascal Siakam, Miles Bridges, and Tobias Harris. So there is definitely a lot of interest from the Pistons standpoint. Did the Pistons make a trade for him in a couple of weeks? They could. Or they could wait to see what happens as free agency and maybe you sign him to a cheaper deal. Maybe you sign him to a deal that, like, hey, like, it's a risk for us signing you. We're going to give you just a cheap deal. I don't know. Obviously, the Kings are interested, and the Mavericks. I wouldn't be surprised if the Mavericks did trade for him. I mean, Mark Cuban signed Dennis Rodman when Rodman was a party animal. Like, wouldn't make sense. Or it would make sense if they would go after him. But I do want to go to the comment section with you guys. I know you guys are leaving comments as I'm talking right now about the Pistons possibly trading for Miles Bridges or going after him in free agency with him. Miles off the court is risky though. Yeah, 100%. 100% agree with you. He's extremely risky. I don't know if I've ever said this on the podcast about this does pertain to Josh Jackson. Because Josh Jackson and Miles Bridges are extremely close friends. And I actually learned this I'm trying to think who told me this, but they're pretty good friends with Josh Jackson. Might have been his trainer. I don't remember. But when the Pistons signed Josh Jackson, right? Josh Jackson had to live across the street from Troy Weaver because Troy wanted to keep an eye on him while he was here. Now, does Troy do that with Miles Bridges? I don't know. But I mean, if you want to keep an eye on him, making sure he's staying out of trouble, maybe do the same thing. I don't know. Bridges is what we need here without question. I don't care what he did off the court. Yeah, there are some people like Stink. Doesn't care what he did off the court. I'm not going to take a side. I'm just going to talk strictly basketball because when I brought him up a couple of months ago, I should say, my mentions on Twitter were going off. They had like activists telling me I'm a piece of shit and all that stuff like that, but I get it. To me, I think basketball sense, he makes a lot of sense. Just the type of player he is. What would that leave Asar if we got Bridges? I still believe in Asar's special talent. So rotation wise, it's a great question. Now, would Bridges probably start here? Depends. It really depends. It depends on what they do with the deadline, because I think the Pistons will probably make another trade or two at the deadline to really clean this roster up. But I would assume he would start. What does that mean for Asar? Possibly coming off the bench again. And Asar, ever since they traded Livers, has really turned it on offensively and defensively. He's getting that opportunity. He doesn't have someone above him. But I think the Pistons want to upgrade the forward position, Red Baron. And I wouldn't be surprised if you see Asar coming off the bench going into next season, because you see reports about Tobias Harris. You see reports about them wanting to get forwards that are veterans and that can spread the floor. Asar could come off the bench, and whoever they bring in could be a mentor for him. I know some fans just want Asar to get as much touches as he can. They want Asar to start. I understand that, but I think from a competitive standpoint, the Pistons want to get a little bit older at the forward position and get more vets in here to help this team win. I think what that would mean with Asar is he's probably coming off the bench again if you do go get Bridges.